And welcome back. We are here again talking about another Viltrox lens for the Nikon Z mount. This is the 50mm f2 and it's part of the Air line of lens. Before we move any further into this review, this is going to be a review, an experience report, and also a comparison with the 40mm f2 from Nikon. Let me get you my usual disclaimer. Viltrox sent me this lens to review and I get to keep it, but no money changed hands and my thoughts are mine and mine only. They are not viewing this video before you do. They don't know what I think about the lens. They don't know what I'm gonna say in this video and they don't get a saying into what I'm about to tell you. Of course, as usual, it's up to you if you wanna believe what I'm saying or not. I cannot force you into do that, but if, as usual, I always try to be as honest as possible when it comes to my reviews. 50mm f2. This is the Nifty 50 lens that you currently, the only probably Nifty 50 lens that you can currently get in the Nikon Z mount. Because other system have other inexpensive options at 50mm. Nikon went a different route. Nikon went for the 50mm f1.8, which is an S lens, which means it's part of their top of the line, but that lens is a lot bigger, heavier, and more expensive than this. So you don't have the main manufacturer Nifty 50 option. This fills that gap, and spoiler alert, it fills it incredibly well because this lens, and I'm not gonna spend too much time into the technical details of the lens. This lens was released a couple of months ago. I'm sure you've seen a lot of reviews saying how good it is at the corner, how good it is in the center. We're going to talk about that, but we're not going to spend too much time into that. But what I was saying is this lens is the 50mm to get if you have a Z-mount camera and you want to try maybe your first prime lens, or you absolutely love the 50mm lens, but you don't want to spend a lot of money into it because you know it's not going to get a lot of use out of it. Or also, if you think that at the end of the day, what really matters is not the lens, but it's the eye that is behind the camera, and you are sure you can manage to take great picture even with an inexpensive lens, this lens is going to serve you perfectly. Because in my experience, my couple of weeks experience with this lens, I am impressed. And I've been impressed with Viltrox Air lenses for quite a while. Every Air lens that I tried left me more than happy. And we need to applaud Viltrox for what they're doing, because they're coming up with very inexpensive lenses that are not cheaply built and are very good when it comes to the optical design, and they are improving that. But let's just talk about what you get with this lens. You get, of course, a front cap, you get a hood, which usually you don't get with lenses this cheap. You get, of course, the rear lens cap, which is over here, and you get a metal mount, which is not necessarily the most common thing at this price range. And that metal mount has over here, it's got a USB-C port to update your firmware. You get a manual focus ring, and you don't get anything more than that. Oh no, you get a pouch that it's useful if you want to store the lens with other stuff and you're afraid of the lens being scratched. You get that as well. Aside from that, the lens doesn't have anything. You don't have autofocus, monofocus switch, you don't have function buttons, you don't have anything like that. And it's fine. For a lens in this price range, it is more than fine. The construction of the lens, aside for the metal mount on the back, is composite material, but it's good composite material. It doesn't scream cheap, which again, for a lens under $200, it's quite of an achievement. But what really matters with this lens, aside from the price, is the performance that you get for that price. And this lens surprised me, because even on a 40 megapixel sensor that you see over here on my Z7, the center is super sharp, even wide open. Of course, it gets better as you stop down, but not dramatically, because it's really good already wide open. The corners are a little behind, of course, a little bit behind wide open, but as you stop down, they get better. You get vignetting once when you are wide open, but that vignetting adds to the character of the lens. We're going to get to that in a second. and you get very good colors. Viltrox has clearly improved the quality of their glass because the colors are definitely better, way better than they used to be with their previous generation of lenses. You get a very nice bokeh. It's not the most beautiful bokeh in the world, but it doesn't need to be. It needs to be good enough for you to enjoy it. It's you get a decent, a good autofocus. Now, of course, I have missed a couple of shots here and there, but as I always say, the C7 is not the best camera when it comes to autofocus. It's a pretty old one, and so it's hard to blame the lens if I'm losing focus with pretty much every lens that I try with Nikon. So I'm not gonna blame the lens. It's probably my camera's fault. It's fast. The autofocus is fast, not dramatically fast, not super fast. They're fastest lenses, but this is fast enough. It is a perfect lens for street photography, but I also brought this lens for a travel, and I could shoot some portraits for my wife, cats, landscape stuff. You can do a lot with a 50 millimeters. It's called a normal for a reason, although normal is probably the 40 millimeters, and we're going to get to the 40 millimeters in a second. All in all, my experience with this lens was really, really, really good, and I will keep this lens on my Z50, on my Z7 for quite a long time. I definitely enjoyed shooting it. I am more a 40 millimeter guy than I am a 50 millimeter guy, and that's why I also have the Nikon 40 millimeters f2. You get two lenses that share the same maximum aperture, f2. The 40 millimeters from Nikon, as you can tell, as you can see over here, is a little bit shorter, not by a huge margin, but it's a little bit shorter. The weight is pretty similar. When it comes to performance, though, that's where we see some of the most important differences between these two lenses. Now, of course, the most important difference is the focal length. I am more of a 40 millimeters shooter, and so I am normally drawn toward the 40 millimeters. But if you take that away and you just look at the image quality you get out of these two lenses, and if you're not fixated on the 40 millimeters, it's hard to argue against the Viltrox. The Viltrox is better in any way, shape, or form. Wide open, there's no comparison. The 40 millimeters from Nikon is not known for being a sharp lens wide open. And it's not known for being a sharp lens at close focusing distance or even mid-range focusing distance. The 50 from Viltrox knocks it out of the park. Very sharp even when at close focusing distance, even when it's wide open. When it comes to the character, the 40 has a little bit more character, but the 50 from Viltrox is not slouch at all. Once you shoot it wide open, you get some vignetting, you get some of those flaws that also make it look characterful. Once you stop them down to a 5.6 f8, the differences are going to be pretty much barely noticeable. Again, unless you're looking at focal range difference. And so for a lens that costs less, that has a metal lens mount, while the 40 from Nikon, it's all plastic. The 40 from Nikon doesn't get a hood. You don't even have the chance to mount a hood. If you want a hood, you need to put to use the filter ring to get that done. But at that point, you lose the possibility of putting your lens cap on. You get more bang for your bucks out of the Viltrox, but there's no arguing against it. For my experience, and we're gonna get the 40 millimeters out of the way, there's no reason, unless you hate the 50 millimeters focal length, there's no reason not to give it a try. I am 100% sure you're not going to be disappointed. Of course, this is not like if 50 millimeters is the lens that you're going to make money from, you're probably going to buy something more higher end from Nikon, okay? Either the 51.8 or the 51.2. But if you're an amateur, if you're a hobbyist, if you want to spend normal amount of money and get a lot of bang for your bucks, that's the lens to get. And it's not because I got this lens from Viltrox and I get to keep it that I'm being enthusiastic. I'm being enthusiastic because this is actually a very, very good lens. There isn't much else that I'm gonna tell you because it's not like, I can only say positive things about this lens, and I've said a lot of them. Just give it a try. If you're on the 50, if you're a 50mm shooter and you don't have a 50mm already in your kit, that's the solution. Go for it. Trust me, you're not gonna be disappointed at all. Thank you for watching. That's it for today, and ciao. I'll see you in the next one.